Okay. Well, we started yesterday. We're going to learn how to finish it. We're going to be able to solve for sides. I'm going to be looking at questions 15 through 20 today. We're going to learn how to solve for sides. So it says use a trigonometric ratio to solve for C, the side C. Round to two decimal places as necessary. And I'm given a corner is 19 degrees. Okay, so let me label my three sides. I know the biggest side is the hypotenuse, so that's the easy one to label. From my 19 degrees from this corner far away, that's the opposite. And I know the other side is adjacent. I have nothing for the adjacent, so I'm not going to use adjacent. For opposite, I don't have the opposite, but I do have a letter C, and I'm solving for that, so that's okay. I'm still going to use opposite. So opposite and hypotenuse. Remember for my acronym, that is so. So that means we're going to be using sine. Let me write this as sine of 19 is equal to C over 14. Well, yesterday we said, we learned how to set this thing up, right? Let me get rid of fractions. Let me multiply both sides by 14. So then we will have, change this to blue, we will have that 14 times sine of 19 is equal to C. Well, what is it? What is 14 times sine of 19? Let me use our calculator. I know on Canvas, I gave you guys a calculator here at the side. So I'm going to go calculator. I'm going to open on a new tab. And then I'm literally going to type what I had. I had 14 times sine of 19. So I'm going to go 14 times sine. You guys see here sine? So sine, it already opened the parentheses. So that's good. 19, close my parentheses. And then I check, is that what I wanted? 14 times sine of 19, press enter. I press enter, so just it gets ready for the next question, but I see my answer there. 2.0982, yada, yada. Okay, let me take a look at our notes here because my calculator, oh, actually, hold on. One thing I want to make sure. One thing. Make sure our measurements are not on radians. That's where it starts. We had to change it to degrees. Okay, so let me type this again. 14 times sine of 19 actually gives me 4.5579. Ooh, okay. Make sure it is on degrees. 4.5579. So let me just write that 4.5579. Do you read your instructions? Here it says round to two decimal places is necessary. Okay. Some questions I'm going to ask you to round to two decimal places. Sometimes I'm going to ask you to round to one decimal place. Do read your instructions. Now here's two decimal places. So I do take a look at the third decimal place. It's a 7. It's big enough. So it's going to push my previous number up. So my answer here will be 4.56. Oh, the value of C is 4.56. Not bad. Let's take a look at 16. Find the missing side, round to the nearest tenth. Okay, nearest 10 sounds like the number 10, which is a 1 with 1 0. So that means one decimal place. Okay, so let's see. Here's my 26 degrees. 17 is my hypotenuse. If I go all the way across, that's the opposite, and that gives me the adjacent here. I have no information about the adjacent. So here, I'm also going to use opposite and hypotenuse, which is sine. So I'm just going to write sine of 26 is equal to x over 17. Oh, I like it when the x is on top, or the variable in this case is on top, because I just multiply both sides by 17. And I'm going to get that 17 times sine of 26 is equal to x. So let me figure out what's 17 times sine of 26? Let me grab my calculator. 17 times sine of 26. Now that we change it to degrees, it will stay on degrees. So again, make sure you have it on degrees. Okay, 17 times sine of 26 is 7.45, but because in this case I'm running to one decimal place, I'm going to call it 7.5. So this is 7.5. Again, you got to read your instructions. Okay, I said I'm working up until number 20, so let's take a look at number 17. Let me flip the page. In my case, I'm scrolling, so let's take a look at number 17. Use a trigonometric ratio to solve for y. So to begin with here, my 90 degrees, opposite from my 90 degrees, always the hypotenuse. So that's easy to tell. From 47, the opposite of 47 is my opposite side. The other side is adjacent. I have nothing about the opposite, so I'm going to be using adjacent and hypotenuse. For my acronym, so katoa, that is the ka. So that means I'm going to say that cosine of 47 is equal to 14 over y. Let me multiply both sides by the bottom, the denominator, so I get rid of fractions. So that gives me that y times cosine of 47 is equal to 14. Okay, now let me divide both sides by cosine of 47. So that means that y is equal to 14 divided by cosine of 47. So let me use my calculator to do that. 14 divided by cosine of 47. So I need a fraction, right? Good that I have this key right here. I have my fraction. 14, let me click down. So 14 over cosine of 47. And I see the answer there, 20.52. My third decimal number is a 7. So I'm going to run this to 20.53. $20.53. I round it to two decimal places because that is what the instruction said. Round to two decimal places. Let's take a look at number 18. From the 90 degrees, the opposite from the 90 degrees is always the hypotenuse. So this is the hypotenuse. From my 42 degrees, this is the opposite. And then that means this third side is my adjacent. I have no information of the opposite. So I'm using adjacent and hypotenuse. That's the acronym CA. So that means that cosine of 42 is equal to x over 18. Let me multiply both sides by the denominator to get rid of fractions. So that gives me that 18 times cosine of 42 is equal to x. Oh, so let me just type that in. 18 times cosine of 42. $13.3766. I'm going to run it to one decimal place. So let me call this 13.4. So 13.4. I rounded it to one decimal place because that's what the instruction said. Round to the nearest tenth, which is one decimal place. That's what I said. Take a look at your instructions. Let's take a look at number 19. Use a trigonometric ratio to solve for d. Round to two decimal places is necessary. I know from the 90-degree corner, the opposite of the 90-degree corner is the hypotenuse. So from 32 The side that is farthest away is what we call the opposite, and then that means this is my adjacent. I have no information about the hypotenuse, so I'm going to be using opposite and adjacent. So I'm thinking my acronym, the one that uses opposite and adjacent, that's TOA. That means I'm going to be using tangent. Tangent of 32 is 16 over D. To get rid of fractions, let me multiply both sides by the denominator, because that way that's going to get rid of fractions. So I get that D times tangent of 32 is equal to 16. I don't have the letter by itself, so in this case, I do have to divide by tangent of 32. That gives me D is equal to 16 divided by tangent of 32. So that's exactly what I'm going to type. 16 divided by tangent of 32. Let me grab my calculator here. 16 over, I see 25.605. So I'm gonna round it to 25.61. D is equal to 25.61. I round it to 2 decimal places because that's what the instructions said. Round to 2 decimal places. Okay. Lastly, let's take a look at number 20. My 74 degrees has to be this corner. It just didn't fit on the corner, so that's why it looks right there. But my 90 degrees, from my opposite, from my 90 degree, that's always the hypotenuse. From the 74, the farthest away is the opposite, so it means this is the adjacent. I have no information about the hypotenuse, so I'm not going to be able to use it. So I'm using the acronym that uses O and A. That gives me TOA. That means that tangent of 74 is equal to 17 over x. To get rid of the fraction, let me divide both sides by the denominator. That way those x's cancel out. So that gives me that x times tangent of 74 is equal to 17. I don't have that x by itself yet. So let me divide both sides by tangent of 74. So these cancel out. So that gives me that x is equal to 17 divided by tangent of 74. And that is what I'm going to type. On my calculator, I'm going to go 17 divided by tangent of 74. So let me grab my calculator here. 17 over, oops, forgot to put my tangent at the bottom. Tangent of 74. And it gives me 4.87, which I'm going to round it to 4.9. So my answer happens to be 4.9. I round it to 1 decimal place because that's what the instructions said. Round your answer to the nearest tenth.